Now, a lot of us complain a lot, when we get in our cars, we take a drive, wherever it is, and we say, I've been driving for 3 hours, I'm so tired. Nobody should disturb me, I need to rest, But we have someone here who showed us that what you've been doing is child's play. I'm sure you've heard the name, you've heard of her feat, which is absolutely inspiring to a lot of us, and it's been nice to follow her journey and finally have her in our studio, a travel and lifestyle content creator, and I say, most importantly, a hero. Someone who has shown us that the impossible can be done, Pelumi Nubi. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of you know, but if you don't, she did embark on a drive from London to Lagos.
I did.
By road.
By road.
So that we can put it in clear context. Alone. Very, very, very important to put that as well. And I've seen a lot of your interviews, and you carried us through the journey anyways, virtually. Did you expect what you saw at the end of this, or what you felt at the end of this? Because you start this journey, and as a travel vlogger, a travel content creator, it's an experience for you. But coming to all of the welcome, and then what it felt like, how has it been?
You know that meme? I never expected it. It's so perfect in this situation. Like you said, I've done so many travel visits over 80+ countries, so travel is something I do. But I think it was the scale of this trip. It was just the audacity and the tenacity that I had to go into it. And the momentum online was already building over the last 2 months. And I just felt like, okay, people are really tuning into this, and they're really involved, like really concerned about my safety and everything in between. But I was not expecting, it was from semi-border. It was from the border.
The noise started.
Where the jubilation, the celebration, and everything in between, and just the smooth shout out to the Lagos State government, the smooth transition, the escort, what is going on? And then getting to University of Lagos, seeing the carnival and just the celebration, people flew down, they came from different countries to celebrate with me. So yeah, it was absolutely mind-blowing. And the feeling, when I remember leaving London and my home getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror, and my excitement level at that point was at 100. I never thought I could top that feeling, just the joy, the relief of crossing the finish line, because he had ups and downs this whole journey. But yeah, I'm just so delighted.
I know, we did see. Well, I understand you're a travel blogger, but when we think of London, we don't necessarily think of people driving.
Facts.
Right? Did you like driving? Because I don't know if anybody's asked that. Why did you decide to drive?
I really do love road trips. Okay. I did one in 2022 across Namibia, 4,000 kilometers solo as well. And with driving, what I love the most about it is how you can just stop. So if something just catch your eye, you're just like, oh, wait a minute, let me park and stay. You can't do that with train or flight that has that, destination to destination. So I definitely love the solitude of just being on my own, taking in the views, stopping, engaging with the locals as well. But yeah, love driving.
So when you set up on this journey, I remember seeing, that you were going to do this. And for some reason, there was a particular border that I kept thinking about. And it's probably not what you think. It was the border into, I think, Mauritania. Okay. Because I hear a lot of these stories about, there's conflict with Morocco. Morocco doesn't recognize them as a nation. And, it's a desert. And I kept saying, okay, the West Coast, to an extent, you are seeing people, I believe. You pass through communities. But the image I have of Mauritania, Morocco, and all the things we read, which is the beauty of what you've done, because you're seeing things for yourself and telling people what exactly is. Tell us about that situation, because the impression I have is I don't ever think of visiting a place like Mauritania because of what I hear. Yes. What was that like?
Honestly, I'm a very big believer of try it before you ditch it. Make sure you have your own real life experience. I had the same thing when I went to India at a very, very young age back in uni, and it was so different from what I saw in the media. So same thing for Mauritania. I had to almost Google in forums. People said they haven't heard that one in so long. It's so ancient. Having to research, and because there's not a lot of information or media out there, and because Mauritania just recently abolished slavery. It's very, very in the 2000s. So it's very recent. So I was just like, how would they treat a dark dark-skinned women. Like, what with that? And honestly, it was such big hospitality, very, very open people, beautiful place. I think it's basically Morocco 30 years ago before it blew up. That's what Mauritania is going to become. It's going to be a very hot spot for tourism. So if you're looking into where to invest, that's a good spot. A lot of travel countries are starting to go there to just explore. So yes, it was so different to what. There wasn't more information out there, so it was definitely good to just showcase it and just show that, hey guys, this is actually a place you can visit.
Was there any place you were, I mean, when you started this journey, because I'm sure, I mean, you did your research, obviously, you knew what your path was going to be, but you're, like you said, you also hear all of these horrible stories. Yes, you're a travel blogger, you like to visit before you, but there must have been some caution.
Of course.
Were you scared about embarking on this? I know you've talked about being in touch with your family through it. What was said? What were the worry spots? You know, I mean, because I can't just get up and go and do this, because I would be like, do I really want to? You know, what was the biggest scare for you when you started this off?
The fact that I was doing it solo, this is an expedition. This is something that people have a whole team around, you know, someone in charge of medical, someone in charge of chef, someone in charge of logistics. Like, I had to wear multiple hats and doing it all by myself and updating people. So there was definitely safety. So one thing I did, for example, on social media wasn't to post in real life. People don't realize that, but I was never in the same place. So they were like, when I'm at the border, like, what's sending help? I feel like I've left already, sorry. So there was definitely that just safety precaution, being a woman, being solo, that was very, very important. And there were some hospital region. I had to reroute, for example, I was going to go to Mali and Burkina Faso, but we know what's going on there. So I had to reroute just to be, you know, more on the safer side. So just keeping updated in kind of what is on the news and what people are saying. But yeah, definitely lots of in-depth research. That is research that I had to, like, on Google Map, literally open satellite just to see the road condition, just to make sure, like, I was carrying a Peugeot 107, so it's a very small car. You can't do crazy stuff. So yeah, Sahara Desert was definitely one that I was personally concerned about, because I'm like, can my car survive it? But recently they built a whole road. So it's actually one of the best roads I drove through. It was tarred road, and I remember shaping like, that is the Sahara. I'm like, we're in the Sahara, baby. So yeah, just again, change people's narrative, what they might, you know, conceive as or think that's the truth, but showing the true reality. I
know you said you didn't drive at night.
I tried not to.
You tried not to. Besides, we'll get to the accident in a bit. Where were you sleeping? Were you sleeping in the car? Did you have hotels pre-booked before going? And because when I also think of the Sahara, I'm just like, how many miles are you going to drive before you see a place to stop and sleep?
Yeah.
What was the plan with that?
So I converted my car. I put a bed in there. So we did like a whole fit. Normally with this is done on the 4x4, but I'm like, if you can do a 4x4, you can do it on a normal car. So I put like a bed, a mattress in there. So I can actually camp in my car and sleep. And when I was back in Europe, I was doing sleeping bag. But when I got into Africa, it was hot. I'm like, take all the clothes off. So is either I use an app called iOverlander, which shows you where previous travelers have been able to stay safely. So they literally leave a review like, this place is safe, we had security, blah, blah, blah. So I'm able to pinpoint based on the driving I want to do.
Are those places that have like communities around them?
Yeah, so it could either be just by the side of the road. So I could go that, I call it wild camping, whereby you're literally on a residential street or just a random street. I try to go on landmarks, so like a main church. Usually they'll have a guard and it's a well-lit place, and you can sleep in the night. In the morning, I wake up when the sun rises up, and then I just drive to a hotel. I'm like, oh, can I use your shower? And that's how I clean up. But my personal favorite was on campsite, because then you have all the amenities. You have a shower, laundry, all of that stuff on there. If I want to be bougie, you know, book a little cheeky hotel. And I was really blessed as well to have some hosts. So some people that lived in the place I was going through reached out, or I've had previous contact with them, like, oh, when you're visiting, you can stay in our home. Our home is open to you. So those were the options.
I kept thinking about them, like, where is she sleeping?
Where did she sleep?
Is she sleeping in the car, on the road?
Yeah.
In Africa, you know, it's all of these things to think about. Yeah. Fair enough. Now, you had this accident, which was very scary for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, after that, I didn't hear anything again.
Okay.
I don't think I was locked in as much after that, because I just said, oh, well, it ends there. And then I hear she's coming to Lagos. I was like, huh? And it felt very quick from when the accident happened in Liberia, I believe.
Liberia.
Yeah, to when you got
in Ivory Coast, sorry.
Sorry, the Ivory Coast, yes. You did tell the story about, you know, the border and how it delayed you and how that led to this accident happening. And was West Africa the hardest with regards to crossing borders? Because I get a sense that that's what it was for you. Is that a fair way to put it?
That was fact.
Which is surprising.
Which is
for
surprising.
Someone with a Nigerian passport.
With a Nigerian passport, yeah.
You've gotten to your region where it should be more smooth sailing. Exactly. What were the things that were happening in our borders across this region?
There's no proper monitoring. There is no accountability. the people in charge, the officers, feel like they are gods. You know, there is no, if you are being harassed, if you're being, who can we report to, basically. What I found was a lot of corruption, a lot of asking for bribes
and
and
this
money.
started as soon as you got into the region.
And this it's kicked off as soon as I got into the region, skyrocketed the closer I got home. So it was just a lot of just kind of like re-educating people of the law. It's as if they know part of the law, but not other part of the laws, in terms of like, you know, my right-hand vehicle. So I was bringing the vehicle from the UK, and some places, for example, say right-hand vehicle has been banned. You cannot drive it if you're residing in the place, planning to move around the lot. But the bylaw says that if you're transiting, because you know you still have the permission, you're allowed to go through. But the officers know one bit and not the other, and they want money, so you know. So it's like having to re-educate people and reteach them of what the rules are. But definitely ECOWAS needs to be improved on. You know, there was very smooth sailing, almost borderless in Europe, whereby I was just going from France to Spain and not even knowing I was crossing countries. Will we ever get to that point in time in Africa? I'm not so sure. But I think the ECOWAS need to do better in terms of kind of not just policy on papers, but real, you know, real change needs to happen. Absolutely.
That's very, very sad.
It is. That's really sad. And that's something I wanted to test as well, because people are like, why didn't you contact the embassy? Number one, the correlation I had with embassies were, you know, American embassy, wake up 3 a.m. to get a visa. So, but there's definitely different arms to the embassy. And I do employ people to reach out to the embassy, because my Nigerian embassy really helped during the time I was stuck 2 nights at the borders in Liberia. And when my car accident, in terms of repair and everything, they were very, very instrumental. But I was testing, like, as a normal traveler, no connection, anything, can you travel through the African continent without any hassle? And sadly, the answer is no. You need to know people. You need to have connections. Terrible.
Were you hurt
during the accident? I was bruised. I was sore. I was a bit deflated because it was like so close, you know. There was a lot of thoughts running through my mind. You know, I had to miss my mom's 60th birthday, which was all planned, the family cruise and everything. So there was a lot of blowback, but it just felt like I needed to finish. But physically, there was no broken anything, which I
thankfully
really thankful.
Who was this mechanic that walked into
Panabitas, they are the real expert. Honestly, they came through for me. It was all hands on deck. Like, once I told them, it's as if they even bought into the vision of London to Lagos. It was like, I cannot end here, oh sister. We have to do everything we can. So shout out to them. Even with, like, you know, Porsche 107, the model I had is so rare. Even though Porsche is quite, you know, quite in abundance in Abidjan, but in that particular model, so they just had to put something until we got like a functional car.
Thanks to them.
Shout out to them, especially shout out to them.
Now, I've always wanted to ask this. Is it something you would ever sort of contemplate doing a Niger version of this?
Are you reading my mind?
Driving across the country.
Oh, you are? Stuff at people?
Because I've always seen people who do all of this. So I'm doing this. I mean, sometimes during elections, there are people who say I'm trekking from Kano to here because of the president. I've always wondered, has anybody done a drive, like to all 36 states, or through the country? Is it something you would do? I
think more of like highlights and pinpoints. I've been able to showcase so many different countries over my many years of traveling. It just seems right, you know, especially being the new Lagos ambassador of tourism.
To
showcase where I've, you know, this city and by extension Nigeria. So yes, that's definitely works in the nearest future.
You heard it here
first. You did.
The one other question I think people ask a lot is the passport privilege, right? You know, if you have a green passport, is this something you can do? Can I suddenly get up and go and say, I want to drive to London? You know, even if I might have a London visa, but how do I navigate, you know, the other places? Is that's a fair conversation to have?
That is a very fair conversation. So I speak about my passport privilege all the time. You know, I'm very not oblivious about it, but I also know people that have solely the Nigerian passports and being able to explore, you know, the world as vast as possible. I was able to use my British from London all the way to the Gambia, and then I switched to start using my Nigerian. So I didn't actually have to get any visa per se, which is obviously a limitation for a lot of people that might want to do this. But where I believe where there's a will, there's a way. You know, you find a way if you really want to do it.
What's the next big, besides the Niger one you're going to do now? I mean, we always hear Cape to Cairo.
Exactly. Something.
Is there a big plan for something maybe, sir?
Though, it's Pelumi. There will always be something, you know. I think, you know, as humans or as me, I'm very quick to kind of like just blow over a big goal, something that I've set. So I'm taking this season to just excel, you know, take it all in, appreciate the fact of how far we've come. And it was 2 months, but actually like with the planning process, been a year plus, so we're talking almost 2 years of planning. So to actually get to that finish line, I'm just like, okay, let's take a moment. But I'm sure I'll be like, I'm going to Mars. I'm going somewhere.
I mean, I'm very, very, very hurt and sad by the whole ECOWAS thing, because it's the one thing the leaders in our region like to trumpet. You know, how we've liberalized the economy of this place. People travel to and fro. Yes, by air, maybe.
Yes.
But, you know, we still hear the stories about the semi-border very constantly, you know. I don't know what your capacity as the new ambassador of tourism in Lagos and what that might mean for, you know, conversations like this. But, I mean, you've put this out on the spotlight now. I'm not giving you a cause to pursue, but what sorts of things or conversations do you believe need to be had? Because, I mean, we've had previous segments on this particular episode where we're talking about the lack of political will to do these things. But there's so much that could be achieved. I would like to drive to Ghana.
Yeah,
it's a 7-8 hour drive.
It's not that bad.
You know, but most people just say, the border, immigration, you know, you start thinking of all of these things. Sometimes they're not as bad, but you overthink it and you just wonder, you know, do I need that stress, you know? How do we get there, you think? Do you think, I mean, you travel, you've seen all of these other borders. What are they doing differently?
Number one, there's a level of, you know, accountability in terms of, you know, if you do wrong as an officer, there should be some reporting level. You know, you should have people ahead of you that are calling you into caution. But like you mentioned something that, you know, in terms of the leadership, they tend to like, oh, ECOWAS is working. It works because you're in an official government vehicle and people are waving you across, you know. But it's not the case for everyday traveler, which is something I was able to experience. One thing I definitely want to have conversation with is like, for example, content creators like myself that are already doing the work, are already going through the experience. I've been screaming for years about how bad the borders are and actually seeing what exactly are the pain points and where exactly can we actually implement. But I really feel until people in powers, if it's like, you know, constant rotation, so people don't feel comfortable, if it's just kind of like, you know, if we do catch you, this is the punishment, you know. You can't close early. You know, I got to the Ghana border coming to Togo. The closing time is 6 o'clock. By 5:15, the office was empty.
Really?
Honestly,
the border was closed?
The border was, the office where they stamped they may stamp my car out. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Sleep here? And the guy literally looked at me like, sleep here till tomorrow. I'm like, no, I was early. I'm not going to get punished. You need to call whoever has gone home. And I think just, you know, really defending yourself and having that sense of, you know, your rights. And travelers, you should know your rights too as well. And if you have to call the right people, if you have to use social media, it's such a powerful force. But I realize officers don't like to be recorded. Stick a camera in their face and be like, I'm reporting you. But yeah, I think there's definitely lots of ways to change. And we will get there. We will.
Thank you very much, Pelumi Nubi, superstar. She drove from London to Lagos. You can check her out on social media. What's the handle?
PelumiNubi.com. Pelumi.Nubi.
Pelumi.Nubi. She's also on YouTube. Social media pages. You'll find all her amazing, amazing story that inspired everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck on the next adventure.
It's such a pleasure.
Don't just stand